Welcome to The Explainer. Today is July 10, 2026, and we're diving into what is arguably the biggest pricing strategy failure in recent gaming history. Seriously, it's a massive story. If you've ever wondered what happens when an unstoppable tech giant pushes its most loyal customers just a little too far, you are absolutely in the right place. Okay, let's dive into this. -4 million. Just take a second and let that number sink in. That is the exact shocking amount of Xbox Game Pass subscribers that just evaporated between February 2024 and today. They literally dropped from 34 million all the way down to 30 million. I mean, in an industry that's completely obsessed with endless growth, a drop this massive is practically unheard of. So you've got to ask, how on earth did Microsoft manage to lose 4 million paying customers? Part 1, the Game Pass earthquake, and confronting the $69 billion mistake. So, to help cover their colossal $69 billion purchase of Activision Blizzard, Microsoft made a really fateful decision on October 1, 2025. They bumped the price of Game Pass Ultimate up to $29.99 a month, and this brilliantly illustrates the fallout. Looking at these confidential FTC court documents, Microsoft set a target of 77 million subscribers by next year, but their reality today, just 30 million. That's a staggering 47 million subscriber gap. To put that into perspective, they're missing out on an estimated $2 billion in expected annual revenue. It's just a complete strategic failure. Part 2, the subscription breaking point and the psychology of churn. To really understand why this happened, we need to talk about something analysts call the subscription breaking point. Basically, this is the psychological ceiling we all have for our monthly digital subscriptions. Think about your own digital budget right now. Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, your gaming stuff. That ceiling usually hovers right around $100 to $120 a month. So when Game Pass jumped to $30, it didn't just get a little pricier. It suddenly became the single largest digital expense for consumers, and it violently pushed them right past that psychological breaking point. To put a human face to this corporate data, check out this direct feedback from James. He's a 34-year-old programmer and an 8-year Xbox veteran. When the price hit $30 a month, the math fundamentally changed for him. $30 a month equals $360 a year. And as James points out, if you're only playing 3 or 4 big games a year, it's actually way cheaper to just buy the physical games and own them forever than it is to rent them. He literally felt ripped off.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how that feeling translated directly into mass action. In a recent poll of 3,800 Game Pass users, over half, 52% of them, canceled completely and went back to physical games. Another 24% downgraded their tier. And get this, only 10% were actually completely satisfied with the changes. From a customer satisfaction standpoint, keeping only 1 in 10 people happy is an absolute disaster.
Part 3, the Call of Duty disaster and a rushed killer app.
Microsoft really thought they had an ace up their sleeve to justify that $30 price tag, and that was making the brand new Call of Duty Black Ops 7 a day-one release on Game Pass. But instead, they got this. 1.7. That is the actual Metacritic user score for Black Ops 7 when it launched in November 2025. It also got a really weak critic score of just 68. This didn't just underperform, it literally became the lowest rated entry in the entire multi-decade history of the Call of Duty franchise. So why did it fail so spectacularly? Well, for starters, the game was built in an incredibly rushed 18-month window. That's half the normal development cycle. Because of that, the campaign turned into this soulless 4 to 5 hour repetitive slog. Plus, the launch was just plagued by catastrophic tech issues, rampant bugs, invisible walls, you name it. And honestly, there was zero innovation. It recycled so many maps and mechanics that it just felt like really expensive DLC. People who subscribed at that brand new high price specifically for CoD quickly realized they were playing a completely unfinished product.
And then, of course, you have the infrastructure side. When millions of players rush into a day-one release on a subscription service, you desperately need rock-solid server stability. The servers have to handle huge numbers of players without crashing. Black Ops 7 spectacularly failed this test. We saw massive server outages lasting up to 8 hours during peak times in its first week. Just imagine paying $30 a month to play a game and the servers crash. New subscribers were absolutely furious.
Part 4, the Great Xbox Retreat and Surrendering the Strategy.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the timeline of Microsoft's unraveling strategy is just wild. The backlash was so intense and the financial bleeding so severe that they were forced into a massive public backpedal. October 2025, the price jumps to $29.99. November, Black Ops 7 launches and flops. By December, the first wave of cancellations hits, and 2 million subscribers are gone. They tried to recover in February with a cloud gaming update, but by April 2026, official surrender. They cut the price down to $22.99, and crucially, they completely removed Call of Duty from day one launches.
In fact, the new Xbox CEO Asha Sharma had to deliver this bombshell statement in April. Game Pass Ultimate had become too expensive. We listened to your feedback. The price has been reduced, but future Call of Duty titles will no longer arrive on day one. Think about the sheer irony there. VentureBeat analyst Jeff Grubb called it one of the worst pricing strategies in gaming history because they were forced to cut the price and then actively remove the exact singular feature they had initially raised the price to support. You literally cannot make this stuff up.
This leaves the platform in a highly vulnerable position, which brings us to a really crucial question for their survival. Can cloud gaming save Game Pass? Because, believe it or not, amidst all this chaos, there actually was one bright spot over the last 6 months. Back in February 2026, Microsoft rolled out some genuine technical upgrades to their cloud streaming. They bumped the resolution from 1080p up to a very crisp 1440p. They also dropped input lag significantly, from a noticeable 110 milliseconds down to a much smoother 75 milliseconds. Now, it does require a minimum 25 megabit per second fiber connection, but the tech genuinely works brilliantly now. But here's the catch. Informal surveys show that only about 18% of Ultimate subscribers actually use cloud gaming regularly. It's a great feature for sure, but it absolutely cannot solve the core problem of pricing and content volume.
And when we look at the current market objectively, the competitive landscape has just shifted dramatically. At $22.99 a month, Xbox offers around 400 games and excellent cloud streaming, but no day one Call of Duty. Meanwhile, Sony's PlayStation Plus Premium sits at a much more palatable $17.99 a month. It offers a larger library of over 700 games and excellent exclusives. So while Sony's cloud tech is limited by comparison, they emerged as the clear winner of this crisis simply by maintaining a cheaper price and a larger volume of games while Xbox stumbled.
Part 5, Lessons and Future Outlook. Where does gaming go now? So, the crucial point is, what do we actually learn from a $69 billion acquisition turning into a massive subscription crisis? First off, trust is your core asset. Microsoft spent years building Game Pass as the best deal in gaming, and they shattered it almost overnight. Rebuilding that will take years. Second, one game is never enough. Subscriptions need volume. A single AAA game, even CoD, cannot justify asking players for an extra $144 a year. Third, regional pricing matters immensely. $30 in the US is tough, but in places like Turkey or Brazil, it's financially impossible. And finally, what's next? Analysts are giving it a 70% chance that we'll see a free ad-supported tier by late 2026. Game Pass has literally gone from being an absolute steal to a painfully average service.
Which leaves us with this final thought. In the digital age, consumers hold immense power. The second they feel they aren't getting value, they simply walk away. Will Game Pass survive the new reality of digital consumers voting with their cancel buttons? That is the question Microsoft will be desperately trying to answer over the next 12 months. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eyes on the data, because in this industry, the numbers always tell the true story.